Well, thank you, John. And welcome, everybody. This is the State of the Insurance Industry webinar um, being brought to you by Insuring Ohio Futures. And today our goal is to examine the Ohio insurance job market amid the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Dean Fidel, and I am the president of the Ohio Insurance Institute. We are the trade association for the property casualty insurance industry. We represent um, companies that write about 90% of all the personal lines of business in the state of Ohio, and also write about 50% of the commercial lines written in the state of Ohio. So thank you for attending this discussion today on the state of the insurance industry in Ohio. And also I want to give a special welcome to the many students that are here from the 12 various risk management and insurance programs throughout Ohio. So welcome students especially. Today we want to cover how the insurance industry has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're going to receive insights from individual companies, representatives from individual companies, to give you a better grasp of the state of the insurance industry. I think you will gain much more confidence for you students on your chosen field of study after you see what we have and hear from the professionals that are with us today to share with you their individual company experiences. So first off, I'm going to give a little overview of the where the industry is economically and its significance to the economy. And then we're going to hear from five separate industry panelists. Josh Paskowitz, from the Highland Group, which is one of the largest agencies here in the state of Ohio. Christine Trujillo from Cincinnati Insurance Companies. Linda Hatfield from Nationwide Insurance. Andy Farver from Westfield Insurance. And Marcella Smith from Ohio Mutual Insurance Group. You have companies and agencies representing almost every corner of the state here. And then we have our special guest is Gabrielle Yarborough, who is a recent grad of Bowling Green State University, and she's going to give you some of her perspective, having entered the insurance industry workforce here recently at Westfield Insurance. And then there's going to be some time for questions and answers when we're done. And if you have questions, by all means, please utilize the chat function on this platform. So next slide, please. So just a little overview of insurance and its economic standing. In this graph, it shows, this is from the Jacobson Group, and this is as of January of 2020. And this is the overall unemployment rate in the United States. And you'll see that the overall unemployment in the United States is 10.2% as of January 20. However, in the insurance industry, it is 4.8%. And this is a compilation of property, casualty, life, health, reinsurers, all U.S. companies, large and small. 4.8% insurance in insurance-related unemployment. So that's about half of what it is at the federal level overall. Next slide, please. So in this slide, you will see this shows the insurance carrier employment. And since April of 2011, there's been 193,400 new jobs in the insurance industry created in the United States. There is strong growth in the insurance industry, especially since the last recession, and you see that curve going way up. Employment is continuing to go up. That is a good trend. The next slide. This one is particularly significant because this gives you a picture of what companies are thinking about in the future. You'll see that 48% of the companies say they are planning on, this is insurance companies, planning on increasing staff. This is in the next 12 months. Of those 48%, 60% of those companies are property casualty insurance companies. Then you'll note that 58% are saying that they plan or they project an increase in revenue. Now, in the pre-pandemic, this was a 77%. So increasing revenue is been a good thing. It's been a good curve for the insurance industry over the years. Now, you'll see the slight deviation going from 77% pre-pandemic to 58%. A lot of that is due to increased costs. We've had a bunch of riots. We've had hurricanes and fires like we've never seen before. And there's also been some premium refunds, and business growth has not been as expansive as it was pre-COVID, but after COVID, you know, that's going to change. There's no question that'll change. Next slide. So this gives you a picture of the breadth of opportunities in the insurance industry, the different vocations, but it also shows you what's most needed in terms of functions. And these are, you'll note that the darker part is entry-level positions. The darker blue, those are entry-level positions. Then the lighter blue is, you need more experience, and that's where, you know, jobs are needed. And then, of course, the executive and more experienced. Overall, technology-related talent is the most needed. I don't think that's any surprise, but analytics, underwriting, and actuarial are not far behind and need to be filled at insurance companies. And you'll see at the very bottom, you'll see operations. That's number one in terms of most need, and then actuarial and claims are right behind it in this particular graph. Next slide, please. And this gives you a picture of Ohio. And I love this graph because you know, Ohio, we have 256 insurance companies here in the state. We're 6th in the country in terms of the number of insurance companies located in the state. We have 109,935 employees in 2019. And that is 7th largest in terms of the total state insurance industry employment. We had a study done by Regionomics. It projected that the insurance industry needs to fill 29,000 new positions between 2016 and 2024. We've been taking steps in that direction. Whether or not that number I don't think that number is too significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. My favorite stat, and if you're in college and you're coming out of college with any debt, this should be your favorite stat too. The average salary in the insurance industry is much higher than the average salary in other private sector jobs, as you'll note. It's almost $80,000 average salary in the insurance industry in the state of Ohio versus about $52,000 in other private sector jobs. So we are well suited here in the state of Ohio for any recent college grad that wants to work in the insurance industry. Next slide, please. So we're going to hear from 5 experts, professionals who are on the front lines of the insurance industry's talent recruitment efforts. And they represent 5 different areas of the state, 5 different companies, 5 different size companies. And so I'm going to start with Josh Pasquitz from the Highland Group. Josh is going to give a 5-minute intro, and he is the talent acquisitions manager for the Highland Group. So I'm going to kick it over to Josh now.
All right, thanks, Dean. I appreciate it and love the information that you shared there. I think that is definitely very valuable into employment as a whole, but then also within our industry. Obviously, there's been a lot of turmoil here over the last 6, 8, 9, 10 months, whatever it's been. But with that, I mean, insurance is really one of those industries that still maintains, you know, a high level of need for organizations. So again, like Dean said, my name is Josh Paskowitz. I manage the talent acquisition strategy for Highland as a whole. So within our organization, we do have our corporate headquarters are based in Toledo, Ohio. And then we have 16 offices throughout the Midwest and down into Florida. That, you know, with that, in the state of Ohio, we have a retail office in Toledo. We have one in Columbus. We have one in Cincinnati, as well as in Cleveland. So broad range within the state of Ohio. And then right on the outskirts of Ohio, we have locations in Detroit, in Ann Arbor. Then we also have one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I typically sit when I'm not in my truck or in between different locations. And then we also have a location in Fort Wayne, right across the border. And then if you go a little bit further over into Indianapolis. Beyond that, you know, if you're looking for warm weather, we've got locations in Florida, in Orlando and Jacksonville. If you don't want to go that far, we've got Atlanta. So a pretty broad range that way. For Highland as a whole, we are the 9th largest private insurance broker in the United States. So we are privately held, family run. In fact, we've been family held and run for the last 85 years and need to maintain it. In fact, we are actually in transition to our 4th generation of leadership, and that's all family. So it's been Highlands at the helm. The family is a majority of the board, of our board. The other thing that I really like about being a privately held company is that we're not held to the same pressures of a publicly traded company and having to turn a profit for our overall investors or Wall Street every quarter, every month, every year, whatever the case may be, you know, from that aspect. And it gives us the opportunity to really do things as we see fit. One of the, you know, with that, you know, for example, we have the ability to bring in new services and bring in new innovation into our product mix and the way that we're doing business. And a lot of times we're given that opportunity to potentially even fail at times, which, you know, I really see the innovation coming from the failures and stepping back and learning from why did we fail, why did this not take, and how do we need to repackage it to bring success into the market and into our clients, into our employees. From an overall perspective, we have about 752 employees within the organization. That's as of the last report that I saw about a week and a half ago. I know that we've had a number of new hires here over the last 7 months. And interestingly enough, when we've seen unemployment spike, we've seen the industry contract in a couple of different ways. We've actually seen growth in the organization. We've seen probably about a 10% growth this year, just in our employee base. And subsequently, we're starting to see that within our in our overall revenue and our sales, and just from an overall perspective. So if I'm thinking about it from a college, or from your perspective, and from a college perspective, you know, and okay, industry that I want to be in, I would say absolutely yes. And, you know, and you're going to hear from some other individuals here on the panel that really a great representation of what the insurance industry all is, all the way across the board. I mean, we've got some very large companies that are going to present to you. We've got some of the smaller companies like myself, but very strong foothold that way. See this stable industry. One of the things that we look at, if I look at it from, okay, what's in it for you? I'm sure that I've already seen one note here come through on the chat line saying, hey, I'm a senior at Akron, which I assume the follow-up is what types of opportunities are there for me? From our perspective, we do hire a number of interns. Now, nowhere in the realm of what you'll see for some of the other organizations. I see Linda smiling here a little bit, from Nationwide. I know that they hire a boatload of interns, and I think that 12 to 15 in the summer is a huge number for us. But we've we've really enhanced our internship program for students coming in. In fact, this last year we had, I think it was 12 or 13 interns. And that was, we were expecting that to be down considerably from where it's been in the past. But it really came together at the last minute. We do convert interns, and it's that opportunity for that pipeline of candidates long into the future. So we've seen a number of conversions that way. And last year, we did have 2 interns from BG. So Gabrielle is going to tell you a little bit about her piece, and it does work. And we do like all this institutions around. So I look forward to your participation. I appreciate you being here today. There's a lot of information that's going to come through, and happy to answer any questions that you may have along the lines.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. Next, we're going to go down the opposite end of I-75 to Cincinnati. And we're going to hear from Christine Trujillo, and she is the talent acquisition leader at Cincinnati Insurance Companies. Christine, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. As Dean said, I am Christine Trujillo. I'm the talent acquisition leader for the Cincinnati Insurance Companies. Hopefully everybody's familiar with us, but I'm going to take a minute just to give you a little rundown just in case you're not. So first of all, we are headquartered, as you said, just north of Cincinnati in Fairfield, which is a suburb. The company's been around since 1950. We were actually formed by 4 independent insurance agents, and we continue to this day to go to market through over 1,700 local independent insurance agents. And it's our vision as a company to be the best company serving those independent agents. We provide property and casualty products in 45 different states, as well as the District of Columbia. We also have a life insurance company, a specialty underwriting company, a reinsurance assumed business, as well as a Lloyd's syndicate under the Cincinnati Financial Corporation umbrella. At this point, we've grown to over 5,200 employees. Approximately 2/3 of those folks sit in the Fairfield headquarters, although not right now, actually, since most of us are working remotely. And then another 1/3 of our employees sit in the local markets that they serve around the country. I personally have spent the majority of my career so far in the talent acquisition space as part of a few different industries, but most recently I've been in the insurance industry for over 9 years. The last 2 years of that with Cincinnati Insurance specifically. I can personally tell you that the insurance industry is probably the most stable industry that I've been a part of, and no matter what role you choose to play within it, it's a great spot to be in. While no industry is recession proof, we are very recession resistant. So, that's definitely a good thing. Even during the COVID pandemic, we've been fortunate as a company to not see any kind of need to reduce staff, which, is something that we're all very, very thankful for. The company's also shown a really strong attitude of caring towards employees in that, the majority of us, like I said, moved to remote work situations already in March, and we're definitely remaining remote through at least the end of this year. So, more to come for us on that, but, we know at least that much. As a result of the pandemic, we did put a portion of our hiring on hold for a total of about 2 months. However, at this point, we've really largely returned to business as usual, and my team remains busy filling positions, just like they would at any other time. At this point, I don't see any indications that our full-time hiring trends are going to change for the coming year, and I expect us to continue to grow our staff head count, even if it, may end up being at a little bit slower pace than other years. I do expect us to continue to grow. Our primary areas of hiring include claims, loss control, premium audit, and sales reps in our field locations. And those sales reps do support the independent agents, so they're not direct sales, it's more support to our independent agencies. In the headquarters, we hire for underwriters, underwriting assistants, and those underwriting assistants support commercial lines, personal lines, specialty, management liability, and life. We hire for our customer care center, for HQ claims, for actuarial and analytics, and for sales and marketing in the HQ offices as well. In addition, we have all of your typical corporate support roles: IT, accounting, finance, human resources, etc. For new grads, the best points of entry into Cincinnati are going to include a few different things. So underwriting assistants are a big one for us. Like I said, we have those folks supporting all areas of our business: commercial lines, personal lines, specialty, management liability, and sales. These roles are a great entry point, as they're often hired as a class, and that class will go through a few weeks of training before they actually move into their roles full time. We do the same thing with underwriter trainees. Those roles are typically, again, hired as a class. They go through training before they go into their positions full time. Underwriting assistants are often frequently promoted into these underwriter trainee classes, so it's a good career path progression for us. We do hire some new external grads as well. Typically, if you have a degree in business or a focus in insurance, you're more likely to go straight into the underwriter role versus an underwriting assistant. So something to keep in mind, but both, like I said, are a great entry point into our company. Claims is also a great entry point for new grads. Depending on the market, the claims organization will look for either an experienced claims rep or a trainee. Trainees are typically placed in markets where there are more reps to provide support to the new person as they continue to learn. Again, you're going to go through several weeks of training prior to moving into that role full time. Loss control typically onboards trainees every year, and then our claims call center does as well. And then we hire trainees through actuarial and analytics. Obviously, that particular path is going to require a strong background in actuarial science or statistics or mathematics. And then lastly, people don't necessarily always realize it, but nearly a full fifth of our organization is made up of IT folks. So we hire a lot of new grads into the IT ranks every year, from developers to tech support to IT security. So really across the board there. Finally, on another front, we also have a robust internship program. We hire interns into all different areas of the business, different areas of the business, actuarial program, as well as IT. In 2020, we hired 121 interns. Most of those folks were in the summer. The summer group was pretty evenly split between information technology as well as different areas of the business. We do also hire interns in the spring and in the fall. Most of those folks are attending school while working for us about 20 hours a week. So we do hire some in the spring and the fall, but like I said, much smaller numbers than the summer. It was interesting this year. The pandemic did force us to take all of those interns virtual, with a very small exception for some IT support folks who were in the office. But most of those folks were virtual, and if I may say so or myself, we're pretty proud of how it turned out. The feedback from our interns was very positive. So while we don't yet know what's going to happen for summer 2021, we are prepared to go in person or virtual, and we have a good portion of those postings out there on our website right now, with the rest expected to show up by early November, with interviewing starting in January. So if that's something that you're interested in, start to take a look at our website and you'll see those things out there soon. That's about it. Thanks. And please feel free to reach out with any questions.
Excellent. And then there'll be time for questions and answers afterwards as well. Thank you, Christine. So now we're going to get off of I-75. We're going to get on 71. We're going to head north to Columbus, and we're going to hear from Linda Hatfield, who is the talent acquisition, in charge of talent acquisition for Nationwide Insurance. Linda, welcome. Thank you.
Hi. Hi. Hey, nice to be here this afternoon with everyone. We are headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. We have about 28,000 associates. We do everything in the insurance ranks that you can think of, but we're also a financial services company. And I always tell everyone we hire from the two broad ends of the spectrum, from pilots to nurses to insurance professionals and financial services professionals. So we have a pretty robust intern program, as mentioned earlier. And each summer we have 300 to 400 interns. We have a large program. We also have some year-round programs as well for local students, local schools. But for this audience, I think what you're most interested in is our intern program, of course, is a paid internship. There is housing in Columbus if you're coming from afar. We do have a housing stipend if you don't want some of our housing that we offer. It's close to downtown, so it's very convenient. You don't need a car. We also have a travel stipend. So if you're coming from out of state or in state, there's a travel stipend as well to help you get to Columbus to get you to that first paycheck. So we'll talk a little bit more, but we are 100% virtual since March, except for a few mission critical jobs. Our internships this past summer were all virtual. Most of them were a 12-week program. Some of them in our technology space for 4 weeks, but then they extended that a little bit longer. We are planning kind of a hybrid model for next summer, and it really depends. At this point, we feel like we may end up having to go virtual again. We're not sure. But we would love to have you join us. And our internships, there are 5 internships openings out on our website, and you can apply for each one of those. And then there are many jobs underneath those openings.
Excellent.
So thanks.
Thank you, Linda. We're going to stay on I-71, and we're going to head up to Medina County, and we're going to hear from Andy Farber, who's a recruiter with Westfield Insurance. Andy, the floor is yours now.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate it. I know you'd stop at the golf course before you got to our home office. But yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk with the group today. So a little bit about Westfield as I get started. Yeah, as Dean said, we're right up 71. A small little community called Westfield Center is where our home office is located. We have about 1,200 employees that theoretically work out of the home office. Right now we're working remotely. Many of them are working remotely. I think like Linda, we have a core group of people that are mission critical to being in the office. We also have service offices all around the United States. So primarily in the Midwest, down the East Coast a little bit, and then a few states out west as well. We're a property and casualty insurance company, so focused in commercial lines, personal lines, a few other lines of business as well. So we can learn more about Westfield and have a conversation offline. I'll try to keep that as condensed as possible. But when we think about our current kind of setup for employment, as I mentioned, we're working remotely. So while many of you may see dogs, cats running through the frame or hear them barking and meowing in the background, I have 2 boys, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, which are just as wild sometimes, but we're all kind of getting used to it. So we're in a remote work environment. This past summer, we were able to pivot with our summer internship program when we were getting the news in March that our employee population was moving off site. And so we, at that time, started planning, and like many other insurance companies sitting in this room today, we're able to execute our summer internship program all from a virtual environment. And the only thing I would say to that is talk to some of your peers that may have been looking in other industries and other opportunities, and you'll hear stories where offers had to be rescinded, where internship programs were canceled, but here we are. The insurance industry was able to get things done for the most part. And so I think about, yeah, it is something that we look for a question from our interns when they're interviewing with us to say, hey, what did your program look like in 2020 and what's it look like in 2021? So while we can't say for certain what summer of 2021 will look like for a Westfield internship, we hope to have them on site, but no, reality may change that, and we might have to go to a virtual environment. So we're prepared either way. Typically, Westfield brings in about 30 to 40 interns over the summer months. All of these internships are paid internships, some in the IT space, majority in underwriting, some in support units as well. We also have quite a few hospitality internships as well, as we own 2 18-hole golf courses, a hotel, a conference center. So good opportunities across the board to just get your foot in the door. And so I think about that comment, and one of the slides that Dean presented a little bit earlier on. Yeah, there's a sliver of opportunities that are new to career talent in our industry, but there's all these opportunities that are seeking individuals with a little bit of experience in a certain space. So that's great news for this audience is, yeah, when they get a little bit of experience, there's growth opportunities that are above and beyond them, and they're able to pivot, switch, maybe do some different things in that very same company or look around the industry and know that there will be opportunities out there for them. So really cool to see the numbers that Dean presented. Really happy that Westfield was able to make the transition to the remote work environment, and we're seeing it from other insurance companies as well. One of the best places that I can recommend to keep an eye out for different internship opportunities besides looking at the company's websites. Also stay connected to your career services team. Look at Handshake is another platform that many of our insurance companies are using. And then lastly, got to give a pitch for Gamma Iota Sigma, as I know the work that they're doing to connect students to opportunities in the industry is really big as well. So we'll post a lot of our internships in that space too. We're a little bit early on in Westfield's recruitment process. We have a couple internships posted, but most likely a lot of them will be coming that November, December timeframe. Hoping to fill those for a May start date, May, June start date. We also have new to career opportunities in many of the similar areas that I discussed for internships as well, where we'll continue to focus in on, yeah, there's a little bit of training and development, but love to see individuals coming from insurance backgrounds, from business related majors, coming in, bringing some skill sets to us right away. With a little bit of tweaking and training, we'll be able to get you started pretty quickly.
Excellent.
So I'll turn it back over to you, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. And you're right. I always try to stop at one of those golf courses. Last but not least, I guess we'd get on 224 and head south on Route 4 to get to Bucyrus. And we'll visit with Marcella Smith, who's the Vice President of Human Resources for Ohio Mutual Insurance Group. Marcella, you're up.
Thank you, and good afternoon, students. Ohio Mutual Insurance Group may be an property casualty insurance carrier that you have not heard of, but we are a hidden gem in Bucyrus. That's where we are headquartered. Primary business is in Ohio. However, we do business in 7 other states. We have approximately 240 associates. Most of us are working remote and have been since March. And we've been very flexible with our associates. If they want to come into the office as of June, they're welcome to do so. If they want to continue to work remote, they can do that as well. A little bit more about Ohio Mutual Insurance Group. We are a very financially strong organization. And there's an organization called the Ward Group. And they look at the 3,000 property casualty insurers in the United States, and they award the top 50 carriers for superior financial performance. And the last 2 years, we've received that award, and we've received it the last 7 out of 12 years. On the associate side, we partner with Gallup. You've probably heard of them from a polling perspective. and they measure engagement at organizations. And our engagement is considered world-class, the highest achievement you can get, and it's in the top 10% of their database, which is 35 million respondents. So I share that with you so that you know, even though we are small, we are very financially strong, and we have associates who love working here. So a little bit about our internship and trainee programs. Fortunately, we have not been impacted negatively from a hiring perspective and with our intern and trainee programs as a result of COVID. We continued with our full-time paid internships this summer, and it's our plan to do that again this coming summer. We hire interns in actuary, data analytics, product management, IT claims, and personal lines underwriting. And our goal is to introduce students to the great careers in the insurance industry, as well as Ohio Mutual. And our goal is for you to come back year after year, and then when you graduate, to join us as a trainee. Now, some of our interns do not live in the Bucyrus area. As a matter of fact, many of them do not. And so we help with a housing stipend so that it is not a burden for you to make a long commute to Bucyrus. In terms of our trainee program, that's the recent college graduates. And we want you to have a rewarding career at Ohio Mutual where you can grow in a technical professional track or a leadership track. So we continue to teach you the insurance industry as well as provide training and development on leadership skills. We hire in actuary, data analytics, IT, and claims primarily. We also offer a $1,500 sign-on bonus for any student who graduates with their degree in risk management and insurance or a certificate in that. We hire many students from Bowling Green, Cincinnati, Kent State, and I can share with you that every single one of our trainees since 2017 has received a promotion within the first 6 months or a year of their employment with us. So we are serious about creating a rewarding career for you students. I'm probably time to turn it back over to the students and their questions, but it's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcella. We're only about 5 minutes behind, so I think we can make that up in the question and answer period. But the next speaker, Gabrielle Yarborough. She graduated from Bowling Green State University in 2017, and she is now a personal lines market underwriter for Westfield. She studied insurance and finance at Bowling Green with a minor in pre-law. Gabrielle, thank you for taking the time to share your experience with us today. The floor is yours.
Yes, I'm very excited to be speaking to the students today. And like Dean said, I did graduate from Bowling Green State University not too long ago. It's only been about 3 years. Feels like some days it's been longer, but it hasn't been that long yet. I learned so much at my time at Bowling Green State University, especially specializing in insurance. I was able to learn this base knowledge of insurance. So I already understood the difference between earned premium, in-force premium, premium retention, policy retention, and just different verbiage that is typically thrown around in the insurance industry that can kind of go across the board, whichever carrier you decide to start your career with. So when I started at Westfield, I actually interned there first, and I was able to kind of continue my knowledge that I was learning at school and apply that to the various projects that I worked on as an intern. And then from there, I used that experience to continue to reach back out to Andy and Connie and other employees at Westfield to continue my career. And then from there, I decided to go ahead and apply for their graduate development program. So that is a post-grad position that you can decide to apply for a personal lines concentration, commercial lines, small business, middle market. You're going towards being more of an underwriting role. So I used all of the knowledge that I've used in college and my internship to prepare me for that position. So I was already prepared when I started that program. I already understood insurance. At Westfield, we already know how to spell insurance. So I already had that base knowledge in that programming. Even if you didn't have that base knowledge at Westfield, they are already prepared to teach you everything you'd need to know about insurance just to even start your position. So I already felt like I had a leg up on my peers. From there, I use all of that information that I learned in my classes on a daily basis in my role. So I always find that very impactful. I will speak more about my role in a couple minutes, but I also want to hit on one other important thing, and that is the networking opportunities that I received during my time at Bowling Green State University, especially in the insurance program. I believe that I had the opportunity to network with insurance professionals and to already have that time with meeting with Andy and Connie and having them match a name to a face and creating that personal relationship with some of these recruiters that allowed for me to have those opportunities for internships and a post-grad career. So I think that's really important, is to utilize those networking opportunities to the best of your ability, whether that is reaching out to someone after an employer spotlight or to just simply link up with someone off of LinkedIn. I think it's very important to maximize your opportunity with that. And in the past 3 years, I have learned about 3 really important things. And this is just for my personal and my professional life. And that is just to be patient with yourself. In the insurance industry, there are so many different things that you can learn from your basic classes that you will use within your daily role, that you can actually, it's kind of hard to make sure you're learning everything, keeping track of everything, and everything's always constantly changing. So just be patient with yourself. You will make mistakes starting out, and that is perfectly fine. It's more important on how you use those mistakes as opportunities for growth. Also, take time to make well-informed decisions. And while I am not a leader at Westfield, I still am a decision maker at the company. I'm making decisions on if a risk is acceptable to be placed with Westfield. And while it may be a minor decision in the grand scheme of things, that can definitely impact our bottom line. So it's very important to make well-informed decisions and maybe just take a couple extra minutes to check over your work or just to double check and make sure that you're making the best decision for not only just thinking about the company, but also the customer too. And then finally, insurance is a gray area. I feel like I hear it depends on a daily basis for insurance. So not every single exposure will be straightforward, and it's really important on mitigating risk and thoroughly reviewing the exposure, and sometimes that can just take a little bit of extra time to ask those key questions. So in my role, I can speak to that. As a personal lines underwriter, I make decisions on what we're going to write with a specific agency. I also help agencies make decisions on their contingency options. I review a lot of their book profile, the earned premium, looking at their profitability, so their loss ratio, and making sure that they will hit contingency. So I've learned so many things at my time at Bowling Green State University that I feel comfortable with having these conversations with key decision makers. In addition, I also have really learned how to build relationships. So part of my role is very sales focused. So I have to be able to build relationships with CSRs, with producers, with agency owners. So I really learned how to use networking to the best of my ability and to build those relationships with my agents. Also in my role, I'm reviewing new business, so things that are coming new to Westfield, and also reviewing renewal business, so looking over losses that may be on an account, making sure that an account is profitable. And then finally, I'm through all of that, I'm also taking phone calls and emails from my agents. So every single day is a little bit different. And it kind of gets you excited to show up to work and to have something new on your plate every day. So that's about it for me. If anyone has any questions, I can turn it back over to Dean.
Thank you. That was awesome. Sounds like you're really enjoying it. Hopefully you've gotten to take some nice vacations amidst all that work you've been doing.
Most definitely.
Good. So now's the time for questions. If there is one question that had already come in with regard to, I think we're referring to some of the continuing education classes and the cost for those classes. I don't know if any of our panelists has any information on that, but that was one of the questions. Can anybody clarify that to any degree? It probably varies depending upon the class, I would imagine. So.
At Ohio Mutual, in terms of continuing education, we pay 100% of the costs for courses through the insurance institutes like Chartered Property Casualty Underwriter. Also for actuarial students, we pay for the actuarial exams, and we provide time off for study. And then for those who want to get an advanced degree, we do provide tuition reimbursement. And then I'm sure, like all the other panelists, the training that new hires receive, recent college graduates, is part of our trainee class program, both technical and leadership. That's 100% sponsored by the company.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on that question?
Sure. This is Linda from Nationwide Insurance. I'll just say ditto, Marcella. We have an extensive educational assistance program, and we do pay for those insurance classes. We have a robust future of work for internal associates for training, and it is, we each have a LinkedIn Learning account that's embedded in our training.
Excellent. I got another question here. So this is a student from Mount Union who unfortunately lost their internship this year as a result of the COVID-19 and is worried that they might not have enough experience for a position. You know, what are you all thinking, looking at in terms of prior experience, knowing we're coming out of an unprecedented time in our history here, as it relates to that question of needed experience? Christine or anybody, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, I mean, you know, it really depends on the role, you know, how much experience is necessary. But for our trainee programs, most of those are assuming that there isn't any experience. So, you know, internships are helpful, they're nice, so on and so forth, but, you know, they're not a requirement by any means. So if you see something that's entry level or trainee, please apply. We take all aspects into account. We look at the educational background, any other outside work experience, in addition to internships. So it's not going to be a complete make or break for us, for sure.
Yeah, I'll just jump in and add, in that perspective, when we look at new to career talent, yeah, internships are nice to know that you've done certain things in a business setting, but you're using some of your skill sets, those competencies that we're looking for in these students. You're doing it on campus, being a part of clubs, being engaged in GIS, being involved in the community in so many different areas. You can do and prove that to us outside of an internship as well. So I'd echo some of those same comments. It's not 100% make or break for us. There's a lot that you can do through your education and getting involved in different ways in the community that really help kind of fill that gap if you miss that internship opportunity.
Excellent. So what can one or two of you share with the students about preparing for and presenting in this virtual environment we live in now? You know, is it much different? Are there different things you would advise to not do or to do in that realm of virtual interviews?
And Dean, if you don't mind, I'll take that one, at least to start, and I'm sure there's some other good information here. The one thing that I can tell you with a virtual interview, if we're looking at it from, if we're looking at strictly at virtual interviews, similar to what we're doing today, is to treat it just like you would if you were going to an office. So if you're going for an in-person interview, you get yourself together, you get ready for the day, you put on a suit, you put on whatever business attire that you think is appropriate for that, and do your homework. Research the company, research the position, come with questions. When you're on the call, turn off everything else on your computer. Turn off your cell phone. Leave it in the other room. Whatever that might be, to limit those distractions. If you were sitting in the office with me, I wouldn't expect you to look at your cell phone. And vice versa, you shouldn't expect that of me if I'm doing that. That's the best thing I can tell you about a virtual connection or a virtual interview. We become so accustomed to this that this is our normal way of life and the way that we do things. But it's really just one of those things, treat it just like it was in person. That's probably the best bit of advice that I can give you for virtual interviews.
Yeah, I'll just add, kind of test your systems ahead of time if you have that opportunity. I know one of the things our recruiting team is trying to be cognizant of is getting the information to you ahead of time, getting you the details of the platform that's being used. And if you want to practice or want to try it out ahead of time, to reach back out to us, and we'll take 5-10 minutes to do that. So test your systems ahead of time is a really big thing. And like my AirPods are connected to 17 different devices, and you never know where it's connected. So that's always one thing I try to be cognizant of before I get on, is understanding where the microphone is and where you're getting your sound from. I confuse myself sometimes with all the technology that's sitting here on the desk.
Gabrielle, I got a question for you. I mean, how has it been for you being relatively new at your company? Have you found it easy to transition, or how has it been for you personally in your position at Westfield and when we went to the virtual environments?
I found it actually pretty easy to transition just because at Westfield, I was already working from home about 2 days a week. So I was already used to using WebEx, using other avenues to communicate with my team members. And then also, it was just still a little bit more difficult to communicate with our independent agency force. So we weren't able to go out on agency visits like we typically do. And this time of the year, we are doing forecasting and business planning. So it is a little bit more difficult to just do solely WebEx for those, because not everyone has the same level of technology. Maybe they don't have video to make it as personal. But I do think that at Westfield, we had all of the things in place that it was a really easy transition for most of us.
Most of you in your intros did allude to what your internship environment might look like in 2021, and I think most of you mentioned your hiring plans, and there hasn't been any hiring or hiring freezes are expected to be short-lived. I would want to clarify one of the slides when I was referring to unemployment of 10.2% for all industries and 4.8% for the insurance industry. That was captured in the third quarter of 2020. So these are unemployment stats in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and what that's done to our economy. So, I would reiterate the fact that this is a very, very resilient industry. I've been in the industry, well, I guess arguably since 1983. That's how old I am. It doesn't look like it. You can't see all my gray hairs. That's why. So I've gone through a lot with this industry, and it is very, very resilient. And I will say that the manner in which the industry was able to go into the stay-at-home environment was unbelievable. How smoothly that seemed to appear for all the companies. Would anybody like to comment on that and how that worked at your individual companies? Because from my perspective, it seemed pretty seamless in most of the cases, which I think speaks volumes for the industry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at Ohio
and-
Mutual, we're a very small company, but from a technology standpoint, we're very progressive. And when the stay-at-home order went into effect, we were able to be 100% virtual the next day. Now, the exception to that is a few essential functions where they cannot perform their job from home, but we were ready to go immediately.
Yeah, that was
And similarly to, like, from our organization, we went and deployed our entire workforce, so all 750 of us, virtual within the course of about 48 hours. And then the essential staff, there was a group of our IT group that had been instrumental in getting us to that point. That took them probably another week and a half before they went completely virtual. But the other thing that I've seen a drastic shift in the way that we do business, and our customers also embracing having more of these video calls versus the in-person or something along those lines. Even setting, for the lack of a better way to put it, a war room where we can have that virtual environment and have that back and forth with our clients. So I think beyond just our industry, I think I've seen the entire world, really in the business world, shift to this type of an environment too.
Yeah. Anybody else want to weigh in on that before I provide some closing remarks as we're hitting the 4:30 mark here? Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your participation. We had, I thought, a phenomenal number of participants in this session. Hopefully you've gained some knowledge about the resiliency of the insurance industry, about the breadth of opportunities in the Ohio insurance industry, and you've been able to see some great people who would like to recruit some talent. And we got to see some talent. Thank you, Gabrielle, for being the talent. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I'm sure we'll be doing stuff like this in the future. And stay safe. And before we know it, we'll not be wearing a mask, but it's going to be a while. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.